Okay, so we're going to talk about homework 2. And I'm going to show you a few things that you'll need to know to complete this homework well. So the first thing that we're going to look at here is to take a look at the rubric. So of course you already know this, but what you're going to be doing is you're going to be looking at what we've talked about already. You can look forward, look in the syllabus, and see what we're going to talk about soon. Or you can choose a disorder that we're not going to cover in this class because we cover a lot of disorders, but the class is not long enough to cover all the possible related communication disorders. So if you have a good idea of a disorder, some of the ones that we aren't really covering are misophonia. It's really interesting, but we don't have time to cover it. Galactosemia, which I'm going to show you someone's work today on galactosemia that was really good, but we don't cover it in class. And other disorders like that. And then again, you can choose something that we will talk about or that we have talked about, whatever most interests you. So I want you to find the one that you're most passionate about. It'll be easiest for you to research because you won't get bored with it, right? Okay, so you're going to want to find 4 scholarly journal articles. You need 4 references here. And when I say scholarly journal articles, I mean actual journal articles. One of these can be my slides. So one of your 4 references can be my slides. That's fine. Those aren't scholarly journal articles, but you can use it. Now beyond that, I want you to make sure that you have, like I say, scholarly journal articles. So something like this, Medline Plus, looking at galactosemia, this is not a scholarly journal article. Something like a news story about galactosemia is not a scholarly research article or a journal article. It doesn't have to necessarily be research, but it has to be a journal article. So it might be relevant, like it's like something new that's going on, but do the work and actually find the article that talks about that work. Don't cite the news story. And then also, if you want to get some basic info like this, that does exist in journal form as well. So Medline, no bueno. Something like this, which is rare diseases, the rare diseases webpage of the NIH, the National Institutes of Health. This is a government agency. This is better. So this would be okay, but this is best. This right here, this is a journal article. It's going to tell you about classic galactosemia, clinical variant galactosemia, diagnosis, testing, management, all this stuff. So you can read this, you can cite it as a journal article. It's going to make your life a lot easier because you don't have to figure out how to cite just a web page from the NIH. It's an article. If you can't find anything like this, which you should be able to find something like this for almost every disorder, but a few may not have anything like this, then you can use something like a webpage like this. Make sure it's from a government agency, the CDC, the National Institutes of Health, something like that. Because something that is not that, like Medline, or sometimes there are places that are like the name of the disorder.org. A lot of times those are owned by pharmaceutical companies so that they can put out like their own research on this treatment that they have for it. So make sure that it's from an actual government entity, hospital, or university. Those are the only times that a non-research article would be acceptable. But again, try to go for the journal article anyway. Okay. Let's go back to this. So at least one should be published in the last 5 years. Some ways that you can do this are, so probably you're going to start out by going to Google Scholar and typing in galactosemia. But if you want to get something that is kind of a more general overview of it, we have something called review articles in science, where someone just looks at all the research and they put it together in a review article. This kind of encapsulates the research of the last however many years and can bring someone up to date really quickly. So if you type in something like galactosemia review, we've got an updated review of the long-term neurological effects of galactosemia, outcome, classical galactosemia review. So here you go. I mean, this is a little dated, 1995, but this is going to be all of your information of the general information about the disorder. So this one doesn't have a PDF that you can go to easily, but you can do the get it at ASU and get it that way. There's cognitive functioning in these patients, etc. And you get all this just by typing in review. Okay, now how can you see which ones have been published in the last 5 years? You can click on since 2017 over here. And now you've only got things published since 2017. Okay, what if you like, where did we find that one? There it is. So what if you like this one, Classic Galactosemia, a review, and you want to see what's happened since it was published. I didn't actually mean to click on that, sorry. So it's been published, let's see, what is that, 25 years ago? That's a decent amount of time. Person that was born when this was published could be researching this for a career now. So we want to look at who has cited this. So we're going to click on this, cited by 10. That's not very many. You can see this one's cited by 45. This is by 125. But we'll click on this to see who's cited it. And then what you can do is you can look through them to see who's cited it. If you have a lot, you can click on this to search within these articles. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click this, search within these citing articles, and then look at since 2017. There's only one. Oral oyster polypeptides. Okay, so that was total failure. Let's look at this, an updated review of the long-term neurological effects of classic galactosemia. We're going to click on cited by 125. Make sure that you click on this. That way you can type up here and only search in these things that have cited this, or you can click over here and only show the ones that have cited this. So here we've got everything that's been published since 2017 that has cited that review article. So if you're interested in the neurological effects, if that is the smaller area that you want to take your paper, this is where you'd want to look for, current directions in research and what's going on right now. Okay, so that's how to search. Let me show you the paper of someone who did this, and this paper got full points. So I'm going to kind of just walk you through this really quickly. So they have a title page here, title, this is their name, where they are on the date. This was before the new APA manual came out, so they still have a running head. This is not something you have to do anymore. You don't need the running head as of, well, actually this came out. She wrote this after that. I think it was 2020 that came out. That's fine though. It's not a big deal. Okay, no abstract, which is fine. This is a short paper. You don't need an abstract. I don't want to read an abstract. You don't want to write an abstract. Let's leave the abstract out of it. But what she did was, up here, she's summarizing what galactosemia is. Why is this a problem? What is it? What does it do? Right? And so you can see that she talks about it and then cites one of her articles right here. Last name, date, inside of parentheses, which is how you want to cite these things. Again, down here, Rubio Augusti, comma, 2013. This et al., you're going to add that in when you have more than 3 authors. So she's citing 3 different papers here in the beginning. You'll see Timmers comes up twice. You have to throw in the citation again if you have a different citation in the middle. So if you're citing a bunch of stuff by Timmers, you have 2 or 3 sentences that come from the same article. That's okay. You'd only have to throw in Timmers once, but because she's breaking it up with Rubio Augusti, then she has to cite Timmers again. Okay, so this is what is galactosemia, and now she's going to talk about the more targeted direction that she's taken her findings. So she's going to write just a few paragraphs. She's got 2 paragraphs about what she learned in these articles that she found. Here's another citation for Delnoy, another one for Pater, which is actually a researcher here at ASU, and another one for Potter. So she has 6 articles. I think this person was doing an honors contract, so they were doing a little bit deeper of a investigation. And so this is her, like, this is the findings, this is the current state of the targeted area that she wanted to go in. And then she's ending with this remaining question: what exists? Now, there is one little bit of an issue that I saw here, which I'm going to walk you through as well, and that was with forming this as a falsifiable question. So she says, despite eliminating galactose from the diet, there are still long-term complications as a result of galactosemia. Something that is currently being investigated by the Babel Boot Camp at Arizona State University is how early speech and language intervention can affect the development of disorders in children with classic galactosemia. Speech and language therapy is usually not begun until after a child shows signs of a delay or disorder, since this does not typically happen until a child is between ages 2 to 4. Between ages 2 to 4. So this is not what I meant. I'm just going to be super nitpicky about grammar. Between ages 2 and 4. A lot of time is lost. This is critical in speech language development. Therefore, it is thought that early speech intervention could help. There's a few more things going on here. This should be a semicolon because it separates therefore from the rest of the sentence, and then a comma after therefore. Therefore is usually treated kind of like a however. Speech intervention needs a space. I think that was, yeah, okay. It's not letting me put a space in, so there's some weird thing going on there. A lot of time is lost. This time is critical in speech language development, therefore it is thought that early speech intervention could help. So this is kind of her question. This and this. Ages 2 to 4. So what she should say here is she needs to add an ending here. Okay, that's a weird, I don't know why that went down there. But can early speech intervention, and then we'll say around age 2 or before, can early speech intervention lead to more positive speech development outcomes later in life? Then I also want you to, so this is her falsifiable question. This is a really targeted question. It's not broad. It's not saying like, can we solve this? Because that is a falsifiable question. You can answer yes or no, but it's not immediately falsifiable. It's not something we could answer. Like if I gave you a bunch of money and time to actually do this, you couldn't necessarily answer that question, which is what I want you to look at here. So she could start doing this research study. Can early speech intervention lead to more positive speech development outcomes later in life? So she could get a bunch of babies with money, like have them come. She can give them early intervention. Another group doesn't get early intervention. You can see if the ones that got the early intervention do have positive outcomes later in life. So I want you to speculate on how you would test that as well. So essentially say just what I did about I would give one group of toddlers speech therapy and a second group would continue to get the standard no therapy until age 4. I would then test to see speech see differences between the two groups at age 5. So there you go. That's what you should add to this to get full points. So that's everything you need to do here. Oh, almost everything. You have to also have a references slide. This is where she's citing all of the articles that she has. Now, one other thing about this is the references don't have to be double spaced like everything else. You can boop, 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 boop. You can do just single spaced on this, and then it takes up a lot less room. So there you go. There's your references. You only need, oh, she missed citing one of the ones that she had. That's interesting. Timmers isn't on there. Make sure you cite everything that you cite in the paper. Maybe I shouldn't have given her full points on this. Is it there and it just got moved? No, it's not there. Okay, so make sure that you cite everything. If you cite it up here, it needs to be cited. It needs to exist in the works cited. If it's in the works cited or references, it needs to be in the paper. You can't have one in the paper and not in the other place. You can't have one in the references and not in the paper. They have to exist in both. Okay, so this is a really good paper. This is up for you to take a look at with my changes. I'm going to make them more obvious that they're changes that I've made, so you can see what I've added, but you'll know it from watching this video as well. So if you follow this, you should get full points. And awesome. Everybody loves full points. All right. See you later.